With Larry Larson, I'm Joey Wright, and we proudly welcome you into another edition of Catching Up with Clutch Sports Media. Today, it is a tremendous honor to welcome former Harlem Globetrotter and Peoria basketball legend Curley Boo Johnson to the show. Curley, before we begin, thank you for taking the time to join us on this Wednesday afternoon, when we record it anyways.
Hi, you're very welcome. Good to see you guys. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you as well. And Curley, one of the reasons we wanted to have you on was I stumbled upon one of your Peoria basketball history interview videos that you've been streaming on Facebook. And I got to say, I've really enjoyed a few of them, and I kind of wish I stumbled upon them a little bit sooner. And I love how you open each show with, youngsters these days got to do their homework. So here's another lesson. And I can say that I've learned a few lessons. How did you come up with the concept for those interviews?
Well, number one, I was bored, number one. And I love the history. I'm a big history buff, and being a basketball guy, this was right up my alley. And everyone knows that I have a very successful basketball camp that's been running for 13 years. And I think right now we have over 80 communities that are involved. So I knew Peoria basketball history, but I needed to learn about the kids that were coming to my camp, about the history of their basketball. So I started writing stories on Facebook celebrating greater Peoria area basketball history. And then I was watching David Booth and Jerry Hester had basketball real talk, or Peoria ball talk. I can't remember the exact name of their website on Facebook, but they did a couple of interviews, and I thought it was wonderful. And then they didn't do any interviews for quite some time. I think Jerry and David had some things going on that they couldn't do anymore. And I just kind of picked up the baton and said, hey, why not? People were geeking me to do it. And I said, what the heck, I'll try it. And the response has been tremendous. I'm getting all kinds of inbox messages of, why don't you have this person on? Why don't you have that person on? And trying to splice it up. And it's been fun. It's been fun. I had my teammates on last night from the Globetrotters. I didn't think about doing a Globetrotter one, but the response has been amazing. So I'll continue to do them while I can.
The one that stands out to me, and the one that I had the opportunity to watch in its entirety, was the one you did probably about a week ago now with some of the local media. Adam Duvall, Kirk Westler were on that. That was a lot of fun to watch. I know Larry really enjoyed the 91 Manual Rams. Was a lot of fun for him. I imagine that's got to be great for you personally too, just connecting with maybe some people that you have known in the past and maybe were close with at one point, but maybe you haven't gotten to talk to in however long. That's got to be a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun. I call it bonding through basketball. And especially during this time right now where I hope many of us are social distancing to try to get through all of this. So we're not able to see each other. And as far as basketball content on the high school level, there really isn't any. And so we don't know what the future holds, the near future. We don't know the near future. And the present is, there's no games right now, but there is the past. So we can celebrate the past, and that's all I'm doing. So it's been great to connect with a lot of people I have not seen in a long time, but also to meet some guys that I missed during my career. When I was playing with the Globetrotters for 18 years, I missed out on a lot of great Central Illinois basketball from 1988 up until I retired in 2007. I missed out on a lot. So it's been kind of cool to be able to catch up, bring some of these people on. They seem to want to come on and tell their story. And it's more or less me just sitting back, letting them tell their story. And it's been fascinating. I've learned so much. I thought I knew a lot. I've learned a lot. And it's been fun to give them a voice. And the show is only as good as the person's being interviewed. And each interview has a different base, which is great.
It's clear from watching these episodes that people do enjoy coming on and talking to you and telling the story of their teams. Joey mentioned the 91 Manual Rams. I really did enjoy that because, that's a team you really don't hear a lot about heading into the four-peat. But like you said in the episode many times, they were really the blueprint. And for somebody like me who's not from Peoria, I learn a lot from that. Looking a little bit about your Peoria basketball story, let's head back into the early 1980s and your days at Richwoods and Peoria Central. What was the Peoria basketball environment like when you were in high school?
Well, growing up in Peoria, we moved to Peoria when I was 5 years old from Chicago, and that was 1970. And my older sister went to Central, and my dad was Bradley's first black basketball player. So I went to tons of Bradley games, and I went to tons of high school games. And it was a basketball hotbed. In the 70s, every game was packed, no matter who was playing. And once they got to the sectional, you couldn't miss it. You had to be up at Bradley's Robinson Memorial Fieldhouse to see those games. And the fact that my dad was a Bradley superstar and he was head of security there, I always got in the building. I may not have a seat, but I got in the building. So when I got to high school, my goal was to play on Bradley's floor. Of course, every goal of a kid is to play in the state tournament, play in the state championship, or go what they call downstate. But I wanted to play on that elevated floor that my dad played on. And we finally got there my senior year. We didn't go well for us, so we got to the sectional title and lost to Manual. But that was my mindset starting out at Richwoods as a freshman, was getting to play on the floor at Bradley and then maybe going downstate.
You mentioned that sectional final against Manual. What were some of the rivalries like in that time? Obviously Peoria is a basketball town, and you talk to anyone from the area, you look at those Big 12 schools, they go at each other. What was it like during that time? Of course, Notre Dame was not yet to be, but Manual, Richwood, Central, all going at it. I imagine it must have been a lot of fun.
It was. At that time, when I was in high school, it was the Mid-State 10. The Mid-State 10 consisted of the Peoria schools: Central, Manual, Richwoods, Woodruff, the parochial schools, Bergen, Spalding, and then the schools outside of Peoria: Limestone, Washington, East Peoria, and Pekin. Okay, that was the Mid-State 10. But the rivalry as far, the best basketball was between three schools: Manual, Richwoods, and Central. But Washington was no day at the beach. Washington was good, very good. And Pekin, anything can happen once you go over in their big gym. So it was a dogfight every night. So when you talk about rivalries, the one that's well documented is Central Manual. But Richwoods had some very good teams and very good players, as well as everybody else. So the conference was tough from top to bottom.
Looking at those rivalries today, obviously you keep up with the Peoria basketball scene very well, although you're not necessarily in Peoria all the time. In your eyes, what's changed between then and now?
Well, the conference was broken up, which is a shame. And I don't blame, the kids. The basketball is still good, but the rivalries are not the same. The basketball is still good. Rivalries are not the same, since I think Limestone was the first to leave the conference, and then Washington left the conference. East Peoria left the conference. Pekin was the last to stay. Then you had Bergen and Spalding consolidated into Notre Dame, and Woodruff closed. So what used to be Mid-State 10 is Mid-State none today. And I hate that schools like Central, Manual, and Richwoods, and even Notre Dame have to go play conference games in Bloomington or Springfield or whatever. It takes away from the great rivalries, because the longest ride that you had to go to a game back in the day was going to Pekin which is what, 10 miles? So yeah, it's not quite the same, but they all have to go through Peoria sectional to get to state. So, but the rivalries, it's not the same. And I don't want to be one of those guys that say, well, back in the day when I played, it was this way and that way. But it really was much more competitive as far as the rivalries are concerned back in the day.
And not to veer off course, but I remember I'm from Urbana, and I was a manager for a couple of years there. Those 90-minute bus rides from UHS over to, wherever Richwoods or wherever we were playing, those were never fun. And they've got to go. I think the longest journey is like 2 hours. It's Peoria to Danville is where they've got to go for some games. I can't imagine that's very much fun on a Tuesday night.
It takes away from the students, and then back in the day, they used to play 90% of our games were either on Friday night or Saturday night. The only time we played during the week was during a holiday tournament, Thanksgiving tournament, and what they used to call Christmas holiday tournament right around Christmas, New Year's. So that's a shame that they have to travel that far. It takes away from the students. And also you got to look at the weather factor of kids that want to go see those games, getting in cars, inclement weather sets in, and they're driving on icy roads, trying to drive 2 hours back to wherever. So you have to take that into consideration. And I hate that that those teams left the conference. It is what it is. We deal with it, and what can I say?
You go ahead, Joey.
I'll go ahead, Larry. Certainly. And then, so we move beyond your Peoria roots to Spoon River College and Loras College, and then we get into, of course, your Harlem Globetrotters days. And with the Harlem Globetrotters, you had so many cool experiences, did so many cool things that I don't think we have time to go through. But what are a couple things from that era of your life that you look back on fondly and remember, like, hey, I did this, and you just kind of sit back and look at it?
Globetrotter, or are you talking about Spoon River?
Oh, I was referring more to the Globetrotters days, but I mean, we can talk about your college days too. How did that
whatever you guys want to talk about is cool with me. But when you say from Spoon River to the Globetrotters, that's, so I'll go to Globetrotters. It was fun. It was absolutely fun. I would have done it for free. And the fact that I got paid a lot to do it was just icing on the cake. I would never tell them I'd do it for free, but man, that's how much fun that I had. I had a chance to go to 94 countries. And I don't know what else I could have done in life to be able to go to 94 countries. And I was an ambassador of goodwill, and made people happy and made money at the same time, and got to see things that I saw in my geography book as a kid growing up in Peoria. And then I'm standing right next to the Berlin Wall. I'm standing right next to the Eiffel Tower. I'm climbing the Great Wall of China. I didn't climb it. I went up 10 steps, took a picture, and went right back down. But nevertheless, that was the best part about it, was seeing the world, seeing what there was to see. And I used to feel guilty that I couldn't take my family with me, my family meaning my mother, my sisters. I couldn't take them with me to experience what their boy was seeing. It was just, you really had to pinch yourself. Like, man, I am shaking hands with Nelson Mandela. Are you kidding me? Nelson Mandela. I'm bending over and Mother Teresa is blessing me and touching me on my greasy head. Just one of the things, you're just like, wait a minute, that's Mother Teresa, and, meeting the Pope and all these other people that we met around the world. So that was the best part of it. I had fun. I had a blast. And not to sound cliche, but it went fast. Now I look back at it, went fast. It really did. 18 years, 94 countries. It went fast.
You know, time flies when you're having fun and meeting Nelson Mandela and the Pope, you know, and that's got to be wild all through the game of basketball. I kind of want to take a step back and maybe reverse a little bit. How did you get from Loras College to the Globetrotters?
They found me. I was always enamored with the Globetrotters when I was a kid. There's a picture up behind me here of me sitting in next to Meadowlark Lemon when I was 10 years old. And who knew that, what was it? I was 8 years old, that 20 years later that me and him would become teammates. He was 59 when I played with him. And it was a dream, a childhood dream, to become a Harlem Globetrotter. But it wasn't a dream of mine once I got to college. I didn't think much of the Harlem Globetrotters, but my game was reminiscent of their style. The things that I was doing in high school and in college, I ended up getting paid to do with the Globetrotters later. So having said that, I did a lot of crazy shit on the court in grade school, high school, and college. I was just lucky that I played for a coach in college that took the handcuffs off and allowed me to do my thing, allowed me to be me. And it had a ripple effect of some of the fancy passes and crazy dribbling that I was doing in games. It had a ripple effect out to California. And they came to watch me play unbeknownst to me my junior year. They came back my senior year on senior night, unbeknownst to me. And my mama was at the game with my sisters. And I had to get down for mama. Are you kidding me? Mama's in the house. So I put on a show. Globetrotter President Joanne Zavino was there. And about 2 weeks later, my athletic director called me in his office and told me that they were interested and they wanted to offer me a tryout. And that's how it all began. And when I found out that I had to try out, I accepted and started working. I was like Rocky, win, Rocky, win. I just went out, started working out every day, trying to play against the best players that I could find in Chicago. I was living in Chicago at the time, and I battled incredible guards, Tim Hardaway being one of them, Ricky Green, who was playing with the Utah Jazz at the time. Maurice Cheeks I can't remember, he's played with so many teams. I don't know who he was with at that time, but these are the guys I was going up against every single day, and it helped me elevate my game to when I went out to California to try to make the team. I was prepared, made the team, and stayed for 18 years. I hope that answered your question.
That was good. And I'm glad Larry tied it back into how we got from Spoon River to the Globetrotters. And it take me back.
Well, you know what? When you mentioned Spoon River, I was at a Bradley game. Oh, gosh, probably 15 years ago. I was still with the Globetrotters, and I was at a Bradley game, and they announced that I was there. My dad, of course, played for Bradley. They announced that I was there, and I was going to get something from the concession stand, and some dude yelled at me, "Why don't you mention Spoon River? You forgot where you came from. What's wrong with you?" And he got in my face. He came around, got in my face, and luckily I had a couple of my buddies with me. It's like, "Why don't you talk about Spoon River?" I was getting ready to pop the guy. But then later on that evening, I was like, he's right. There's people at Spoon River that are proud of my success. And I never mention them because people never ask about them. I hate to say, when you do an interview, you hate when someone has an agenda and you don't answer the questions that the interviewer has for you. They never ask about Spoon River. So I'm glad that you mentioned Spoon River. Shout out to Spoon River. I had a wonderful time there. It was a launching pad for my success, was junior college. And that's why I always tell people how great junior college is. It can be a stepping stone to greatness. And it was for me. So I owe a lot to Canton, Illinois. I lived in Canton for a year. Didn't spend a weekend. I went home every weekend, but I did spend a lot of time in Canton. I went to Spoon River College, and I had a tremendous freshman year there. And I owe a lot to Spoon, and I tell them all the time. So there's Spoon River. Shout out.
Certainly. And I'm glad you mentioned the benefits of junior college, because that kind of ties into where I wanted to take this next. I was on the Facebook page for your basketball academy, the Skills for Life Basketball Academy, yesterday and then earlier today. And you do a great job of keeping up with some of your former players that have come through the camp and that you've mentored. A lot of them, I was looking, have gone on to go to places like Parkland and ICC, some local places like that. So tell us a little bit about the camp. The story has been well documented, but with the Skills for Life Basketball Academy, you know, kind of what was your motivation to start it, and how has it grown over the last, what has it been, 13 years now?
I think this is the 14th. When I retired from the Globetrotters, or when they didn't re-sign me, take your pick, they named a street after me. I think it was in 2008 in Peoria. And I felt so humbled by it, that my hometown was so gracious to me to do that. And I'm like, man, I got to do something. I got to give something back. I was living in Chicago, and I said, you know what? I need to have my own basketball academy, need to have my own camp. And I got with David Booth, and we decided to have our own camp called the Skills for Life Basketball Academy. And we had 90 kids the first year. And I actually got a concept from Michael Jordan's camps. I spoke at Michael Jordan's camps in the early 90s. And at Michael's camp at Elmhurst College called Flight School, he had the top not high school, but the top college players from Nike schools that were flown in to be the counselors at his camp and coaches. And that had to have been great for these 500 to 600 campers that he had, to be around the top player from Michigan, the top player from Seton Hall, the top player from Arizona, just from everywhere. All these great players, probably, I don't know, 20 of them, all NBA, soon to be draft picks. And I said, you know what? I can't hire the top college players from around the country, but in the hotbed of basketball that Peoria area is, I can hire the top high school ball players. So I reached out to them, and they all wanted to be a part of it. And I believe the first staff we had about 17, 18 guys, and it went well. And the next year we had, I think, about 150. David went and left and did a camp with his brother, and I took over complete control of it. We had 100, probably 130, 140 kids. Then the staff increased to about 22. The next year we had 2 sessions and had about 300 plus boys. The staff increased to about 30, and we extended to more communities. Then I started the girls' camp, and I didn't know anything about girls' basketball in Peoria area. The only name that I knew was Sarah Livingston, mainly because she was Sean Livingston's younger sister playing for Morton. So I got in touch with Jane Miller, who had been smacking me for a couple of years, saying, you need to have a girls' camp. Why are you slighting the girls? I said, I'm not slighting the girls. I just don't want to have girls and boys in the same camp. So I said, all right, I'm going to give them their own camp, but I don't know who the top girl players are. And she gave me a list that I still have to this day of 15 girls. I reached out to all of them. They all wanted to be part of it. And it took off. We had, 120 girls the first year. Now my girls' camp has close to 400 campers, maybe. And the staff went from 15, 9 years ago, to over 50 of the top girls from the greater Peoria area. And that includes every school in Peoria. That includes Metamora, Morton, Pekin, Princeville, Stark County, Kewanee, Farmington, go on and on and on. And they want to be there, and it just took off. So it's a simple formula of making it fun, making it competitive, and providing walking, breathing, talking role models, which these girls and these boys are that work for me. And it's been fun to get to know them and to also follow their careers, to keep track. So I'm a fan of the game, and I don't miss the Illinois game because two of my boys are starters, Adam Miller and DeMonte Williams, who have both been through my program. That makes me smile. I love it. And then I can watch Marquette play, and I see Cameron Taylor playing. I can watch Butler and see Tinley Dow, who came to my camp when she was 9 years old. I can see Brandy Bisping playing for University of Wisconsin, Milwaukee, doing her thing in her senior year. So it's been fun. DJ Richardson, when he was playing for the Illini, Alec Peters tearing it up in college, and now he's over in Spain doing his thing. So it's been fun to watch these kids grow up. And I'm a big fan of theirs.
Sorry to cut you off there. I mean,
I need to be cut off.
No. That's what the show is for you to talk, not for us to talk. But looking at the list of the high school coaches at your camps, it's almost like an area all-star team. It really is impressive how many of these players have gone on to do great things, and I'm sure that makes you proud. Shifting gears a little bit to this year's camp, you had to cancel 2020's camp. How are things looking for 2021?
Well, I've got a book here in my office that has how many kids already signed up? Over 200 kids signed up, and they're rollovers from the year before because we had to cancel the camp. So looking forward, I'm hoping that things open up some, but I'm having a camp regardless. I'm having a camp. We'll deal with the guidelines and play things by the rule, but we're having a camp. As far as hiring a staff, I hate that there are coaches that didn't get to participate this year, like Devin Vanderheit was going to be his first. He's a former camper, and I forgot that he was. He sent me a picture of me and him when he was like 9 years old, and I'm towering over him, but it would be a much different picture right now. But of the other seniors that missed out of working the camp, I feel bad for them because I can't have them come back, but I got to start figuring out who's going to be part of this year's camp. But there's no content, and hopefully they'll get to play soon, and we can get through this. But I'm just hopeful. That's all I can say. But we're going to have a camp this year. There's no doubt about it. So I already got about 200 plus kids signed up, rollovers from last year.
Certainly hoping that this all goes away in due time and that we can get back to normal. When Larry, and I'll speak for Larry here, we love it when we're out doing a game, whatever the matchup is, and you're interacting with us because we've got a former camper or a counselor, on the court, and you just do such a great job with keeping tabs on these guys. As I said, I a couple minutes ago just was scrolling down the Facebook, and I see players from Marquette and what they did their last time out, and DeMonte Williams, Adam Miller, I know is something that Larry and I always talk about. What's it like to have, especially those guys with their ties to the Peoria area, doing what they're doing at Illinois, and knowing that you played a little bit of a role in that?
For me, someone who's been involved in the game of basketball his whole life, and I'm retired, and I'm a fan. I'm a big fan, and I'm a fan of theirs. And they have trusted me to be part of what I'm doing. I mean, I'm not these kids that they want to be part of it. They want to be part of my camp, and I appreciate that. And it's called Skills for Life. And we talk about respect. We talk about brotherhood. We talk about sisterhood. And what kind of person would I be if I didn't track them and try to help them? I help out a lot of them. It's just that it doesn't end up on social media. It doesn't end up with Kurt Pegler or Jim Matson or in the Journal Star. I help a lot of these kids. I help them with their recruiting. I help them with a lot of social issues that are going on. It's just that I don't make it public. So I bought into this, of this brotherhood and sisterhood with these kids. I bought into it, and I love watching them excel, you know, and I promote it. I promote them, and the camp seems to work. And I know that Illinois plays, I think, Wednesday or Thursday. I'll be watching, you know. And I also have another tie with Illinois outside of DeMonte and Adam, and that's the assistant coach, Orlando Antigua. Orlando Antigua and I played together with the Globetrotters 8 or 9 years. He's one of my closest friends. So I don't miss an Illinois game, but it's a treat to see two of my boys out there starting, two of my homeboys from Peoria. But it's the same for somebody like Matty Cash and from Pekin, and Anna Plummer from Farmington playing for St. Ambrose. So it's not always about the Division I thing. I track the kids that are going to ICC, that are going to Parkland. You know, I got a list of where all my kids that have been through my program are playing right now. And I hardly sleep. I probably sleep maybe 5 hours a night. I get up in the morning, I just check to see how they're doing. You know, if I see that they haven't been playing or something's wrong, I'll get in touch with them. I'm like, hey, you okay? You know, so I bought into this, and it's everlasting. I'm not going to ever stop following these kids, you know, and when they do great, I promote it. Not only their basketball exploits, but when they graduate, I get their cap and I say, send me a cap and gown picture, and I put it on the page so the younger kids can see that that's part of it too, is getting your degree and not just playing ball, to get that degree. I was very proud of DJ Richardson getting his degree. When he sent me his picture, I put it on the page, and I was proud like I was a parent, you know? So I'm a fan. I'm a fan of theirs. So.
And I know a lot of people are big fans of yours because of that, and you make a great point. You don't necessarily need to be playing at the highest level of basketball to have success in the game of basketball, but most importantly, in life. Curley, I've got one more question for you, kind of a lighter-hearted one. A lot of people outside of Peoria, of course, know you as the world's greatest dribbler. Do you think you are still the world's greatest dribbler?
I don't really know what that means, to be honest. It was a title. Well, see, I was in show business. I was a basketball player, but I was in show business at the same time. And Marcus Haynes, if you don't know who he is, look him up. He was the first dribbler of the Harlem Globetrotters and had the distinction of being the world's greatest dribbler. We were playing in Dallas, and he was at the game, and I was so nervous. And I did my thing and whatever. And when I came over to the sideline, I didn't even go back on defense because we can do that type of shit when you play with the Globetrotters. I went over to the bench, and he was sitting on our bench, and I came over, and I shook his hand. I said, thank you for the inspiration. He said, man, I never seen nobody dribble like that. You are the world's greatest dribbler. And the owner of the Globetrotters heard him say that. Next thing you know, Curly Boo's the world's greatest dribbler. And I'm like, oh, man. So then I got people like hot sauce and chili sauce and tomato sauce and all these damn people wanting to challenge me to a dribbling contest. And I'm like, what the hell is a dribbling contest? You know, and then I would go back in the summer and play pickup ball, and everyone was trying to take the ball from me, which is what I want you to do, to be honest. As a ball player, one thing I love when someone would try to take it from me, because you played into my hands. But I had people diving into my knees, and guys, I'm doing whatever, they tackling me just so they can say that they took the ball away from the world's greatest dribbler. So I never got into that. I really didn't like the name that they gave me, because I had world's fastest dribbler, Dr. Handle, Mr. Dribble, best hands in the business. It was all a marketing plan for you to come see us play. I didn't like it. I always wanted to be called Boo. I just wanted to be called Boo. So when they put that on me, I just had to deal with it. Sometimes if you get a nickname and the owner gives it to you, ain't much you can do about it.
Oh man, so there were some pardon me, there were some unintended consequences there towards the title. Oh, that's hilarious.
Man, dudes diving for the ball. Oh Lord, guys going into my knees. Guys, I ended up headbutting people because when you try to lunge for the ball, if I go like this and cross their head, we end up headbutting, or it's crazy, crazy,
Oh man,
crazy.
how many
Oh,
times?
and all the scratches, the scars, got them everywhere from guys trying to get the ball from me so they can. I just wonder how crazy it would be if I played during the social media era where everyone's trying to get a video and then, I took it from Curly Boo video, 1 million likes or whatever. I blocked Curly Boo's shot.
Oh man, just imagine how many more times you would have had to go through it. Oh man,
Yeah.
that's insane. Curly Boo, I think that's about all the time we have. Larry, you said that's about it from your end. Yeah, that's as I said, we're running just a little bit low on time, but thank you so much for joining us today. So many great stories. That especially that dribbling story. We might have to use that in a promo. That was fun.
Well, put this in there. Not very few people took it from me. Very few, and I remember each one of them. Okay, so.
Do you have that on another list? People who got the ball.
Oh, I remember them. But there's people that in my prime, I remember them. But post prime, I always tell them when they do get it, you didn't get me during my prime. You know what I mean?
Oh man, yeah. Try again.
Even Ali got beat.
Yeah, there's a big difference there. Big difference.
Oh man, Curly Boo, thank you for joining us today. Really was a pleasure.
You're welcome. Take care, homeboys. And when you guys get back up again, I'll be watching and listening.
We look forward to having you every broadcast. Every time we see you tweeting at us, that puts a smile on our face. So, for Larry Larson,
if I miss something, let me know. Okay.
Will do.
All right.
For Larry Larson, I'm Joey Wright, and this has been, I think, our fourth or fifth edition.
Fifth.
Fifth, number 5, catching up with Clutch Sports Media. Thanks for watching.